recording.
Oh, it's true, I'm ready to start. You're right, one.
Yeah, we're recording.
One key missing person.
It's on.
We're recording, but we don't have a solicitor. We're fine.
Well, I'm not gonna do anything stupid, so we don't need a solicitor. What do we need a solicitor?
So,
I don't know.
Start the meeting without him. Let's sit here hostage till we wait for the solicitor to show up?
Ken, you can't click your pen through the whole meeting. It's coming through the phone.
Can you hear that?
Yes, loud and clear.
Sorry. I'm putting it down right now. It's right here on the desk.
Thank you. Use it to write things.
is that like Morse code you're sending?
Well, I know Morse code,
You're a
but
hostage.
can't do it. So I try not to bring clicky pens around.
That's that special pen though, right?
This is the special one, yes.
Retirement pen?
No, I don't have like one of those. Yeah,
This is what you have to sign.
I know. Even I have to sign like 8,000 pages, so.
That's all right. Just so the solicitor review it.
As long as you don't have any plans immediately after.
Yeah, we can't sign it without the solicitor.
Nope.
We'll have to come back next week.
Yeah.
We have our office number.
Does she come from Bethlehem?
I think so, yeah.
There was an accident between 512 and Shanksville, heading east.
That's east, heading east now.
Yeah, but it was backed up coming, because I was coming,
I jump on a 512,
so it was heading east too. Was there one going west? 'Cause west was really backed up.
But I didn't see it.
They're going west, it was packed when I
Yeah, that
drove.
was packed when I
I
came.
tried to
all the
call
way
the
up to
office,
Easton with
doesn't
the
even
traffic.
open till 9.
Yeah.
So people don't know how to drive with sprinkling out there, so God forbid. Eastbound and westbound. Well, westbound might be slowed down because of rubbernecking.
That's what I was
Yeah.
wondering.
Yeah, that usually
Yeah, that's
happens.
probably what it is.
You have to look, to slow down like 12 and look. Note to self, drive the back roads on the way home.
Yep.
I'll get right on 22.
And forget, and then be
Yeah.
like, oh, what did I
It's like
do?
autopilot. We really have to wait for the solicitor.
I guess nobody has her cell phone number.
I don't, not on me.
Yeah, I was looking, I don't have it.
Charles, do you have her cell phone number?
No, I,
Sorry, you broke up.
although, I'm sorry, yeah, I don't have her cell phone number, but we're not required to have a solicitor to start the meeting unless there's anything that's going to be, need their review.
I don't think so. We should be safe to
Make a
start them.
decision first, El Presidente.
I mean, Paul, just for your comfort level,
Yeah.
she's on all the weekly bond calls. Like she's,
Yeah, I'm not worried. I'm worried
Okay.
about the audit. Any concerns on the audit that she needs to be here?
I don't know. Unless you want to
From
skip
my
over that
perspective.
till the last if she's stuck in traffic.
Yeah,
Save that for later.
move to
By
the
the
end.
time we get to the end.
Sorry, Jay.
right.
I put you up first.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, thanks for being on time. Actually, you get,
Oh,
oh,
there she is.
oh.
Yeah.
Yay.
you Route 22.
3, 2, 1. All right, now we can start. You get caught in that accident? Or-
I got there just as they were clearing it, but everything was still crawling.
Backed up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
more
you.
time.
Sorry.
No
All right, good morning. Welcome to the Northampton County General Purpose Authority meeting on this day, April 2nd, 2024. Sarah, will you please take a roll?
Mr. Anthony,
I'm here.
Mr. Dertinger,
Good morning.
Ms. Pearson,
Here?
Mr. Kraft,
Here?
Ms. Vargo Hefner,
Here,
Mr. Donchez,
Here.
and Mr. Colondo is excused. And then we have Solicitor Kelhar and myself, Tina and Dawn.
All right, thank you, Sarah. All right, in your meeting packet, you received the minutes from the February 6th, 2024 GPA meeting. I need a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ken. Second?
I'll second.
second,
Thank you, Pam. Any questions on the motion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Sarah, no public comment? Now we can get to the audit. That's perfect timing.
So Jay Grabelny from Riley and Company is here to present the draft audit for 2023.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Nice to see everybody again.
Hey, good morning.
Again, my name is Jay Grabelny from Riley and Company. We handled the audit this year remotely again. It was primarily done the first week of March, and we issued drafts on March 22nd. So I believe everybody has the draft financial statements in front of them. So I will go through the statements. If there are questions as I go through, feel free to stop me, or if not, obviously I'll be happy to take questions at the end. So the first thing in our financial statements, in our financial statement packet, are the financial statements themselves. And in our financial statements, the first part is the independent auditor's report, which is really the most important part of the financial statements from an audit perspective anyway. So for 2023, we have an unqualified or clean opinion. So that's obviously what the GPA wants to have. That means that everything that follows in the financial statements, we were able to deem to be materially correct. On to the numbers themselves then. On Exhibit A, which starts on the bottom, we do have page numbers again this year, I remembered. So it's on page 6 of Exhibit A. So this is the statement of net position, and this is on the full accrual basis. So with our assets, our current assets, which are primarily cash and restricted cash of $430,000. We also have a due from primary government of $214,000. And what that's related to at year end, there were some monies that were due from the county related to the P3 project. So also down below under current liabilities, there's a due on capital assets in that same amount. So it was due from the county and then due to the respective vendors. Also under assets, we have our current portion of notes receivable. And then the rest of the notes receivable is recorded as non-current. So we have notes receivable and restricted notes receivable. So our total notes receivable at year end was about $380,000. Our next section under our assets are our capital assets. So that's obviously the P3 project. So we have our bridges that are under construction, the bridges that are in service, and then total accumulated depreciation. So at year end, our total capital assets were just under $28 million. Down to our liability section then, we have some accounts payable for general purposes of about $17,000. Again, the due on capital assets of about $214,000. And then we have recorded a due to primary government. What that's related to is the notes receivable. So there are restricted notes receivable that when they are received are technically due back to the county. So we have that recorded as a due to primary government. Our long-term liability is the due to P3 contractor. So at year end, the value of the work performed by the contractor exceeded what was paid to the contractor. So that results in a long-term liability on the statement of net position. And then after our liability, we have our net position, our net investment in capital assets, which is calculated as our total capital assets, less the due to contractor liability and the due on capital assets. The restricted net position of $214,000 is related to the amounts that are due from the county, because obviously that's restricted to be used for the P3 project. And then our unrestricted net position is basically everything that's left after that. So at year end, we had total net position of just over $25 million. Our next statement then is Exhibit B. This is our statement of activities. So again, this is on the full accrual basis. So these, the expenses here would include depreciation expense, but all of the P3-related construction expenses would be capitalized, so they wouldn't be included in this schedule. So our general governmental activity, that's primarily the administrative type expenses of about $80,000. And then our public works is the P3 related. Obviously, most of those expenses are capitalized, so that's primarily the depreciation expense. So overall then, with the highways and streets, again with the P3, the total monies received from the county for the year was about $3.9 million. So what we end up with then is a increase in net position of just under $3 million. Our next statement then is Exhibit C. And this is our balance sheet on the governmental funds. So this is modified accrual basis, so this would not include fixed assets or long-term debt. Other than that, the amounts are pretty consistent with Exhibit A. Primarily on the general fund, we have our cash and notes receivable. And then on the capital projects, the P3 fund, we have the account receivable from the county and the account payable to the vendors of about $214,000. The next schedule then is Exhibit D. And what this does is it reconciles the governmental funds balance sheet to the statement of net position. So we start with our fund balance on the fund statements at $440,000. We would take out the long-term liability and then add in the capital assets, and that would bring us to our net position from Exhibit A. Next statement then is Exhibit E. And this is our revenues, expenses, and changes in fund balance for the governmental funds. Again, these numbers would not include, these numbers do include assets that would normally be capitalized on Exhibit A, but here we show them as expenses. So you can see the big difference is really on the capital projects fund. So for 2023, our P3 project revenue was just under $4 million. And then we had matching expenses, obviously. The ins always match the outs on that fund. So we had utility relocation of just under $300,000. And then also insurance expense of just under $100,000. But obviously the bigger numbers there are the construction and the maintenance fee, which are the payments to Krieger. So overall for 2023, we had a net decrease in fund balance of about $71,000 on our governmental funds. Exhibit F then, this reconciles the changes in fund balance of $71,000 that we had on that report to our total increase in net position on Exhibit B. So again, the primary difference is that we are on Exhibit B on the full accrual, we capitalize our P3 project expenses, which obviously decreases those expenses, which is why we have a decrease in fund balance on the modified accrual, yet an increase in fund balance on the full accrual basis. After our financial statements, then, we have our notes to the financials. I won't go through them word by word. I will spare you that. There are just a couple of things that I wanted to note. One is in Note 1, which is on, if you're looking at the bottom right, it's on page 17. So it's actually all the way at the end of Note 1. And Note 1 is our summary of accounting principles. So there is a slight change for 2023. They implemented what's called GASB 94, and that's related to there's new governmental accounting standards that updates the financial reporting of public-private partnerships. So it doesn't change the numbers at all. All the calculations stayed the same. The only thing that changed is that under GASB 94, this would not technically be considered a PPP anymore. It would now be considered an APA, which is an availability payment arrangement. So again, it doesn't affect anything from a number standpoint. Obviously, it doesn't affect anything with the project itself. The only thing that will change, which I'll go over at the end of the notes, is that we changed the title of the note. So just a kind of screwy thing that governmental accounting likes to do, throws little things at you. But thankfully, like I said, thankfully it didn't change anything with the numbers. It's just, like I said, more so of a title thing. The next note, then, note 4, which is on page 20 of the packet, and that's our capital asset note. So that there just gives the detail of what we had with the P3 projects. So again, at the end of the year, we had construction in progress of about $550,000. Bridges placed in service are just over $29 million, and we had total accumulated depreciation of just over $2 million. So at the end of the year, then, our net capital assets, or our capital assets net of accumulated depreciation, are just under $28 million. The next note, then, is note 9, which is on page 22 of the packet. And this is our conduit debt note. So this is a required disclosure when you have conduit debt. So this just lists all the conduit debt. There are 2 numbers there that are highlighted that we didn't have the confirmations back from. Sarah's always great. She prepares the confirmations. So we did get one of them back. So we're still waiting on the last one. So I'm sure we'll get it back. And if not, then we'll just have to figure out a way to disclose that we didn't get it back. But for the most part, they respond pretty quickly, thankfully.
Sarah, which one are you waiting on?
Career Institute of Technology.
Okay.
They did have a change in their business manager, which I learned after I finally called to try to track this down.
Right.
So I have sent the replacement an email, but I haven't heard back yet.
Okay, thank you.
The next note, then, probably the most important note in the financial statements, is note 10, which is now it's the availability payment arrangement project note. We did still leave it called as the P3 project, just because for a continuity standpoint, that's what everybody knows it as, so there's no reason to go any further than to just kind of, again, retitle the note. So we did just put there in the second paragraph of the note that, it just says, as discussed in note 1, with the implementation of GASB 94, the project now falls under the definition of an availability payment arrangement. So that's really the big change to that note, other than really the last paragraph of that note, which is on page 25. So in the last paragraph, we just, we update that every year for what was done during the fiscal year, and also, where we stand at year end. So other than that, that note primarily is unchanged. So it still basically serves as a history of the total project itself. So that's it for the financial statements themselves. In the packet, then, the next item, which is on page 26 and 27, this is the public notice financial statement. So what this is a concise version of the statements that we just went over, and this gets filed in the newspaper for 1 day, and that's a requirement under the Municipal Authorities Act. So once the audit's approved, we provide that to Sarah, and she takes care of the filing of that. The next item after that, which starts on page 28, is the DCED report. And again, this will get filed. It gets filed with a copy of the signed finalized financial statements. So this gets e-filed online. So we take care of that once the audit is finalized. Again, that gets filed every year. Numbers are the same as the financial statements. It's just a slightly, slightly different format. And then after the DCD report, we have our letters. Our first one starts on page 41 of the packet. And this report, we call it a communication with those charged with governance. So it's a required report that we issue with all of our governmental audits. Basically what it does, at first it discusses our responsibility as auditors. It also discusses if there were any significant changes in accounting policies. So we did mention that GASB 94 was implemented, which really just, again, changed the title of that note. This is also where if we had any kind of difficulties experienced during the audit, where we would note those, and thankfully, we don't have that. We work primarily with Tina, Sarah, and Mary Alice, and they're always very helpful in getting us what we need. So thankfully, we have no issues like that to report. If we had any kind of disagreements with management or anything like that, this is also where that would get reported. And if we had any kind of findings that we felt the board needed to be aware of, we would also note them here, but we didn't have anything for 2023. The next report then, that starts on page 45. This is our internal control report. Again, it's a report that we're required to issue with all of our governmental audits. So if we had any kind of internal control deficiencies or weaknesses, we would note them here. And again, thankfully, we didn't have anything to note for 2023. And the last thing in the packet, which starts on page 47, is the client rep letter. And this is the letter that comes from the GPA to us. It basically states that you've provided us with everything we've asked for, and that you have not knowingly provided us with false information or withheld information for us. So when the audit is approved, the letter will get signed at the bottom and then returned to us. So we can't issue financial statements basically until we have that letter back. So that's about it for the draft financial statement packets. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Any questions?
I'll just make a comment. First of all, I'm in banking, and I see a lot of municipalities, townships, authorities, and no one has their audits out first. So, to get this out early is a credit to Sarah, Tina, and the staff, because throughout the year, they provide really good information, and to Riley for getting on and doing what they have to be getting it issued. So I really want to just thank the staff for how well you work on getting the accounting throughout the year done, and Riley for finding a way to get this out early like you have.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I mean, this is one of the first ones that we get finalized every year. And Mary Alice is great. She gets the general ledger and trial balance information to me in February. Sarah and Tina get the confirmations and stuff to me, so we get it out and we have it. We know that you guys want to have it approved in April, so that's important that we have that for you guys. So
I would just say on page 29, solicitor is no longer that solicitor.
I know, Joanne,
Oh.
when did you start?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I started in 23.
You
Started
did?
in the middle.
Oh, I thought,
No, I'm sorry. I thought it was on.
I did see that.
Yeah, I started in 23.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
just thought it was because of prior year. That's why they were listed.
So it was and
I think that.
I don't, however you want to work that.
Yeah, no, and then they want it to be what it is when you're filing it, not necessarily what it was for the year that we're reporting on, so we will update that. So if you could
Okay.
just get me the contact information, that would be great. Yep.
Editorial change there. And that's why we waited for the solicitor.
There you go.
I feel much better now. But I echo Ron's thoughts, just thank you to the team. It's really awesome, and Jay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, no further questions? All right, I need a motion to approve the draft with the edit for the solicitor.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Ken, second. All right, any questions on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
Okay,
Jay.
thank you very much, and
Thank you.
hopefully we'll see everybody again next year.
All right, Ron, since we're talking numbers, I guess you want to go over your report?
I'll go through that.
All right.
You have in front of you the year-to-date, March 31st, 2024 numbers. On the first page is our balance sheet. You'll see total cash and cash equivalents of $408,000 and change. Total assets are $788,42691. Our liabilities are the note payable to $350,000, And then the beginning fund balance, we had 440,847 79. Year-to-date, we have an offset of 2,420.88, which then gives us the 788,426.91 as total liabilities and fund balance. On the next page, then, we have the general fund year-to-date income statement, and at this point, we just have on the third column there, the actual is income of 1,456.56. We do have some early expenses, so that's where we have a minus balance to date of 2,420.88. And the last page we have is the capital project fund, and that's the flow-through account. Year-to-date, we have 101,000 and change, and the same amount is being expenditured out to giving us a net of 0. Any questions?
Oh, thank you. All right, if there's no questions, I'd like a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Pam. We need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ron. All right, are there any questions on that motion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, invoices for payment. Sarah, do you want to walk us through that, please?
So in the packet, you have the list of invoices for payment along with backup documentation for each of the invoices. We have Alfred Benish and Company for a total of $4,635.40. Riley and Company, this is for installments 1 and 2. There'll be a final bill then as well, totaling $11,227.89. City of Bethlehem in regards to the water main relocation, $96,125.81. The first quarter admin services to DCED for $16,260.58. And then we had 2 invoices due to Norfolk Southern relative to Bridge 101, totaling $3,298.66 for a total of $131,548.34.
All right, like Sarah stated, all the backup documentation is attached. Any questions on invoices to pay? I need a motion to approve. Thank you, Pam.
I'll make that
Second.
motion.
Thank you, Charles, second.
Oh,
Any questions on the
Yes.
motion? All right, seeing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, the next item is year-to-date invoices paid through March 31st, and that's just informational only. All right, Bridge.
Morning, everybody.
Morning, Greg.
Morning.
Everybody have a copy of the status report? All right. There's been some changes since this came out in the past week, so I'll go through those here. Starting with Bridge 124, we're in the utility relocation process right now. Bethlehem Water has completed their work. They began on February 5th, and they completed on March the 1st. As soon as they finished, UGI jumped in to do their relocation, so they began right afterwards, and they're expected to be completed by end of this week. We'll find out in the next few days if they're going to be completed or not, but they were on schedule. Verizon has one more line to complete to splice, and PPL has some minor work to do after they're done. So everything is currently on schedule right now, and Krieger noted that they will begin work on the bridge 2 weeks after utilities are completed. We've had bi-weekly status calls with the township, utilities. Everything's moving in the right direction.
All right, Greg, you said Krieger would start 2 weeks after,
Utilities are complete their work.
because your note here has begun on May 8th.
Yep, this is a change from yesterday.
That's the change then, okay.
Correct,
So 2
yeah.
weeks after utilities.
Correct.
Thank you.
So maybe a little bit sooner than May 8th.
I hope so.
Yeah, I had a question regarding that too, which this might have resolved, because there were, 10/9 was the date that they had for completion, but the stream restrictions started again on October 1st. So that takes care of that little overlap then.
Yeah, you just can't be working in the stream. Once they build the abutments, the concrete that supports the bridge, once they're done that work in the stream, they're out of the stream restriction. So then there's working up top, and they won't have to worry about it. So it should be no problem.
Okay, thank you.
And are dedicated to finishing this year?
Can you say it again, Charles?
Are they still dedicated?
I think he said.
To
are they
complete,
still
yes.
dedicated
Yeah.
to finishing this.
Yeah, they said they'll be complete by end of the year. Okay, jumping down to Bridge 101. Since the last meeting, we reviewed final construction plans and resubmit those on March 15th. We asked them to revise or resubmit to us. They have reviewed yesterday, and they are now accepted as noted. The only comment left is pending review from Norfolk Southern. So they've resubmitted to Norfolk Southern after they received comments on February 26th, and just waiting to hear back at this point to get final approval. We're not expecting to be any major problems because most of the work is being done on the other side of the creek. GPI submitted the permit to DEP on November 15th, and it got reviewed, and it was approved last Friday. So they now have their permit. They have completed the review of the shop drawings for the steel liners, and as I said, the final design of the bridge is also wrapped up. So Bridge 101 is also moving in the right direction. There's one temporary easement that was signed, and it's clear, and they're expected to begin construction in June.
Yeah, right. So the Krieger is expecting to begin in June, right?
Correct.
Not that we are expecting that.
Krieger's expecting.
Krieger's.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
How long is that bridge gonna be out? What does it encompass? What are they doing to that particular bridge?
So they're basically just working underneath for the most part. They're putting metal liners under the arch just to stabilize the arch, and they're repaving on the bridge deck.
So it'll be, when they're doing the metal, the arch, under the arch, it'll be closed?
Correct, that's correct.
And they expect to close it from the 15th of June till,
It's going to be a few months. It's going to take.
So it'll be closed for the construction of the bridge, is that what you're asking?
right, yeah.
Not just, you're out of the street, so.
That's correct, yeah,
Down for a few months.
correct. And this one obviously is going to be dependent on weather too, because if the stream's running high, it's going to be hard to work under the stream, so. The last one they did for Bridge 143 with these metal liners went really smoothly, so I'm expecting this one to probably be very, very similar. Jumping down to Bridge 101, I know before there were some punch list items that were remaining. We got notification yesterday that they're all complete, minus 2 of them. One of them is just administrative, getting some plans and some material certifications. And the other one is the discussions with the property owner, which are ongoing for driveway restoration and yard restoration. So we'll be out there, once the water levels go down, we'll be out there to check these punch list items were completed. Bridge 54, as I noted before, there's another contractor that's out there to take a look at the stormwater pipe. They're coordinating currently with Med-Ed, and once that's completed, we'll be out there to verify that the pipe was installed correctly. Lastly, on Bridge 19, there was observed depressions in the pavement. This has been noted at status calls, and Krieger's going to be out there once the weather gets nicer and the temperatures go up to finish that paving. Any questions on the report? Everything's moving in the right direction right now.
Good. It's nice to see a short list.
Short list.
Yeah, we'll wait till there's no list. All right, any questions for Greg? All right, Greg, thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a resolution, number 2024-02, P3 annual payment.
Correct. So we did receive the request from Krieger, which is also included behind the resolution. This resolution is basically the same as what we've previously used. It was also reviewed by Solicitor Kellhart. So this is just to approve the resolution so payment can be made, which is due April 30th. And the work that's being done at Bridge, is it 54, that'll get deducted from next year's payment because it hasn't been completed yet, so we couldn't deduct it from this year's.
All right, I understand. All right, any questions on that? All right, I need a motion to approve resolution number 2024-02. Thank you, Pam. I need a second.
I'll second.
Second?
Thank you, Ron. Any questions on the motion? All right, see no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you. New business, Sarah, do you have anything to report?
I do not. Just a reminder about the statement of financial interest form that's due May 1st. I think I have majority of them, but just a reminder for any that it might still be outstanding.
Yeah.
So, all right, usually new business, good of the association. We got this notice here that Greg Kuklinski has won the Engineer of the Year award. So, thank you, Greg.
Congrats.
So I have the original here. We would appreciate if you would autograph it. And then we're gonna archive it in the GPA archives.
Well deserved.
Yes,
Yep, yeah, congratulations, Greg.
yeah, congrats.
And, you know, you're recognized by your peers, and that's awesome. It really is. So, I know, it's been a long haul for us, but, you know, thank you for what you've done for us.
Great
All right,
work.
next meeting is Tuesday, May 7th, here in the chambers at 8:15. Need a motion to adjourn.
Before you
Oh,
do that, I
excuse
just
me?
wanted a point of information. I don't know if it was brought up, the bonds for St. Luke's will
Yes.
go public next Monday. So just to keep you in the loop.
Okay.
They have completed pretty much all the process. And I'm assuming we've got the signatures we need, which, you know, under penalty of death, I told them they'll get this one. So just wanted to bring you up to date.
All right. Thank you, Joanne. All right, and motion to adjourn, please. Thank you, Ken. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, and then I put my hand up because you said don't make eye contact.